Welcome Strategy Battle Gamers to another GBHL YouTube video. You're here with your host GBHL Damian, and this is episode 2 of my hobby vlog. So yeah, hopefully this will be going out sometime around Tuesday or Wednesday, I think. But this week I decided to do something slightly different. And as you can see over there, there's all those dwarfs that I talked about in my last hobby vlog still waiting for the brush. They've had to wait their turn. And I have been getting on with those Berserkers as promised. But what I've decided to try and do, and I don't know how successful I'll be with this, is to kind of talk you through the stage by stage process that I've been using and to give you an idea of how I paint. Now, I'll be very clear to say I don't think this is necessarily how you should paint. It's I don't think I'm the best painter in the world or anything, but this is just how I go through the process for most of my models. So as you can see at the moment, these Berserkers have got to the base coated stage, what I call the base coated stage at least. So let's have a look at this. Hopefully you can see him, and yeah, there he is, he's in focus. So yeah, you saw him last week. They were a white undercoat, and I've worked that up. Someone actually asked on the last video why I use a white undercoat, and the reason is because I'm old. When I got into the hobby in the kind of early mid 90s, everyone used a white undercoat. It was just kind of what you did. You bought the white undercoat spray and you sprayed them white, and then you worked from that. And I then kind of had 10 years out of the hobby or so. And when I got back into it a few years ago, a lot of people were then undercoating with black. So I'm not sure exactly when that changed. Who knows, maybe GW worked out they could sell black paint for more or something, I don't know. But I'm still set in my ways, so I normally undercoat white if I'm painting anything to be look kind of bright colours. So these guys, as you can see, the majority of them is this kind of red skin colour, so I think a white base coat works better than trying to paint over black. So hopefully that gives you some kind of idea about that. If I'm ever painting anything that's going to be quite dark, I'll go from a black undercoat. So my dwarfs, my arable dwarfs over here, that became Grimhammers, they were worked up from a black undercoat because I paint the black straight onto the armour. But yeah, if I'm ever doing normally good models for me end up coming from a white undercoat. And just looking at this, I understand what absolute nonsense that sounds like, because the good models I just talked about were black undercoated, and the evil models I'm talking about were from a white undercoat. But normally that's my thing. So yeah, that's the stage they've got to. So let's just have a look at one of these and I'll show you what I do. So the skin has been painted dark flesh. The first thing I did was paint anything metally black. So the helmet, the kind of metal on the gloves there, and the sword and the chainmail were all painted black. That was a Baden black down there, Baden black. I then dry brushed those with tin bits and the modern lead belcher colour, which I've still got as bolt gun metal. So yeah, those bits were dry brushed with tin bits and with bolt gun metal, and that gives this kind of metal appearance. And it's a bit rough and ready, but I think it works well for evil models. As I've talked about in other videos, for my arable dwarfs I hand paint the armour because I want it to look kind of cleaner and shinier. But for kind of my Uruks, I've always done this dry brushing approach, and I think it looks pretty cool. I've also stuck to this because, as I mentioned in the last video, I'm not overly massively keen to paint these. I'm just trying to get them painted up to clear the backlog a bit. So I'm just sticking to the same colour scheme I used on my Isengard over the last couple of years. So yeah, they were all kind of dry brushed up to chainmail. All the skin was then painted with dark flesh. The gloves and the sandals down there were then painted with Steel Legion drab, and then the dark, the kind of loincloths were painted with scorched brown, which is now called Rhinox hide. So yeah, that's kind of what we got to, and they're quite. I'm never quite fond of my models when they're at this stage, because they always look a bit rubbish. But it's the next stage that is the kind of magic stage, I always call it, and I'm going to go on to that now. And what I'm going to do is chuck this Nuln Oil over all of them. I'm going to cover them all in Nuln Oil, and that's my shading stage. So yeah, that's what I did. Baden black, dry brush with tin blitz and dry brush with bolt gun metal, dark flesh skin, Steel Legion drab for the gloves and sandals, Rhinox hide for the belt parts, and then I use this Deathcore brown brown just for the orange on the flaming brands on the two there. So that's then base coated. I'm not the fastest painter in the world. I actually think I'm quite slow. I think this took me about an hour and a half. About an hour and a half to get them all to this stage. Something like that, an hour and a half, 2 hours. And I will now wash them and then hopefully come back after that and show you what they look like. Right, cheers. Okay guys, so here we are after the next stage, which I always think of as the magic stage. So I've used this Nile oil and I've kind of liberally painted this over the whole model, and it gives this kind of effect. So suddenly that kind of quite raw and basic looking base coat has where's that gone now? Hello you. Yeah. Right. Try that again. Those kind of big, bright and gaudy base coats suddenly now look a hell of a lot better, and they kind of, all the other colours kind of tonally tie into each other. It's probably worth pointing out that I haven't gone over any of the metal, so I haven't put the wash over the helmet or the swords or anything like that. I've put it over the skin and all the cloth and all that. This is a really, really quick process. I didn't put it over the orange either, but this process probably took about 20 minutes, 15 minutes total. You just slap it all over, it only takes a few minutes. You know, it takes a minute or two per model. So I reckon to get them to this stage, we're now at about 2 hours into the process, something like that. And what I'm now basically going to do is go back and highlight up all of those colours. So I've still got my little palette here, little set of colours that I used. And I won't be using these guys, I won't be using the armour stuff, but these kind of browns and the skin colours I'll now be highlighting up from. That's the same stage that these dwarfs are currently at, so give you some idea now. So they've been base coated and shaded too, ready to be highlighted up. So yeah, that's where we are on that, and I will now be highlighting them up. It's currently Friday evening and I'm still kind of really up against it now, but I'm kind of optimistic about getting these guys finished painting tonight, so we'll see. Alright, cheers. Okay, so here we are after the next stage. Just to update you of where we are. It is now Saturday morning. Ideally I need these guys for the Longbottom Carnival tomorrow, so we'll see how we get on. So by now they have had the stage of highlighting I talked about, and they now look like this. So basically the big colours I used were back to Dark Flesh, Steel Legion Drab and Rhine Oxide. So all the skin was re-highlighted with Dark Flesh. There we go, like that. All the gloves and the sandals were re-highlighted with Steel Legion Drab, and all the whatever they are, belts and brown fabric there was re-highlighted with Rhine Oxide. And we get to this point. Now the good news about them at this stage is if I wanted, they could be ready to go. They could be they're definitely tabletop quality. Have a look at these guys as well. I'll show you a few more things I've done. So you'll also notice that with the torches, I think I did that Deathclaw brown, and I've also now washed it over with an old school GW orange wash to give that fire appearance. Also the teeth were painted with Karak stone and then washed with Agrax Earthshade, which was quite easy to do. As you can see, they look alright, and they're certainly getting there. So I've just got two more, like this, that pose again, and this one, there he is again. Okay, so that's where we're up to now. Now, as I said, you might as well have noticed that the bases have now been done. Yeah, they now have this stuff stuck down to them, and the reason for that is to glue that down. I always try and leave a day overnight for it to dry, and so I had to glue it down last night because I need to finish the bases today. So I wouldn't normally do that before the painting's finished. I'm also one of these people who glues their base texture down after they've painted the models, because I always find if I do it before, even if I spray them, that I rub it off as I'm painting. So that's been glued down and will hopefully be finished. It's just PVA, and then they're dipped in a mixture of kind of sand and small gravel. So whilst these could be done, my Berserkers, if I just grab a Berserker here, actually have a couple of extra stages where you see the skin's another colour. So these would be the finished stages of my normal Uruks, but for my Berserkers I give them a bright red highlight to kind of make them stand out and make them look possibly like blood. So I'm going to try and do that. I also need to finish off the fire, and I also paint a white hand on their helmets. So I've got to do that next. I'm also tempted to do another highlight around the belts. It goes without saying that if I was painting this for my Battle of Five Armies or Army of Thor, everything would have at least one more highlight. The belts and the sandals would all have an extra colour to kind of match the standard that I'm trying to get to these days. But these guys are just trying to match my old Berserker colour scheme, so I don't think they necessarily warrant it in the same way. I'm just trying to get them done and get them off the table really. So yeah, I'm now going to start on the second stage of highlighting with the skin, try and do the white hands and see how I feel about the brown. Just to give you some idea as well, that has taken me somewhere in the region of about an extra 2 hours. So I think we're up to a total of about 4 hours maybe for these models, somewhere in that region. Alright. Okay, so here we are about somewhere in the region of an hour and a half later, and these guys are now finished. So let's have a little look. As you can see, they've now had the extra layer of skin highlighting put on, which was done with red gore. So that gave them the slightly pinker appearance that kind of marks out my Berserkers from my normal Uruks. They've also had the white hands painted on their helmet, which was done with old school skull white, which was quite fun to do. And as you can hopefully see around their belts, against my my kind of deadline better instincts, I decided to give the brown cloths another highlight. So that was done with is it Gorthor brown, I think? Yeah, Gorthor brown. So I've done that, and I think it was probably worth doing because it really makes those kind of belts pop a bit more. I also, on the two plastic ones, I did the torches, which they were painted Bestigal flesh, then washed with, I think I told you before, an old school orange wash, and then highlighted up with Bestigal flesh and Flash Gits yellow before putting a wash of Seraphim sepia over the top to kind of blend it all in together. So that's how we're getting to those guys. There we go. And the last one's just the plastic dude again. And there he is. Quite pleased with how they look. So yeah, just the bases to go now. It's currently 2:20. Ed and Sam are arriving around 7ish, so I need to get them done by then, which is plenty of time, but the next stage takes a bit of drying. So what I'm now going to do is slap scorched brown all over this base to give it a base coat. Alright, cheers, bye. Okay, and now, as you can hopefully see, the bases have been done, and these guys are completely finished. Hooray! So, let's have a little look at the finished product. As I said, the base was painted in old money scorched brown, which is now Rhinox hide. So yeah, painted scorched brown, and then heavily dry brushed in Mournfang brown, which is the old bestial brown, and Ushabti bone, which is the old bleach bone. They're then dipped in scorched grass from GW, and the rims are painted in Mournfang brown. Look at that guy. This dude. I'm pretty happy with them. As I said, these aren't the best models that I've ever done by any means. They're not the most detailed, but they will fit in nicely with my old Berserkers. And I will indeed be taking them to the Longbottom Carnival tomorrow. It is now 6 o'clock. Ed and Sam are about an hour away or so. So I just about managed to get them done in time. And I've just about finalised my list for the Longbottom Carnival. And I think I'm going to end up with 14 Berserkers. And considering I had 11 painted, that means 3 of these guys will need to come along. So I'm looking forward to that. So yeah, there we go. Just put all these guys together for you. So there are my 5 Berserkers, and that's been how I paint my models. I hope you enjoyed that. I have no idea how long this is. I reckon it's probably about 15 minutes for all the bits. Sorry it's a bit longer than you might have been expecting, but that will just be to make up for next week, because I'm now going to be at the Longbottom Carnival Sunday and Monday. I then am busy Tuesday and Wednesday, so I will literally have Thursday night to do some painting before the next one of these vlogs goes up. So assuming I do a vlog, it will be a very short one next week, but it will have something to do with those guys over there. Maybe a bit of work on the Grimhammers, who knows, but hopefully this long one will balance it out a bit. So yeah, I hope you've enjoyed that, and I'm sure over the next week you might see some video at some point with either me and Jamie or me and Tom where we talk about our exploits in the Longbottom Carnival, and I'll let you know how these guys go on. So until then, don't forget to comment, like, share and subscribe, support your Hobbit hobby, and happy strategy battle gaming.